What's going on all? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome just the same. Today we're going to be unboxing and doing just a little bit of customizing of Luke Skywalker's X-wing from Micro Galaxy Squadron. Just a tremendous line, so stick around. Bam, and there we have it, Luke Skywalker's X-wing from Micro Galaxy Squadron. Just a tremendous looking vehicle, as is most of the Micro Galaxy Squadron line. Luke Skywalker's X-wing, the T-65B, Red 5 as we know it, has Luke Skywalker there in the miniature form and R2-D2. So the little bit of customizing that we're going to be doing here is the barber poles, which is this top one up here and the bottom one down there. So that's the blue stripe that just kind of goes down there. Just a very simple customizing job there. So the launch edition on the back here, we do have the great schematic, which I am going to be cutting out after this video is finished. So the S-foils do open up there. R2-D2 does go down the bottom there. Enough talking about the package. Let's open it up. So as always, make sure and smash that like and subscribe button wherever you are seeing this video. It really helps, and I really appreciate it. It really helps everything at the bottom line there, and I really appreciate that. Make sure and check out all the links in the description. That also helps. I do some pretty cool things over on Instagram, all over the place, so make sure and check that out. Make sure and turn on notification bells. That also helps, and I really appreciate everything that you guys do. Thank you. Alright, so there is Red 5, Luke's X-wing, one of my all-time favorite starfighters. Is obviously the X-wing. I really love all of the Star Wars starfighters. They're all so good. The designs are so good. George Lucas and the crew really did a fantastic job. But Luke's X-wing has been one of my all-time favorites. We have a little port here for R2. Obviously, the cockpit opens up for Luke to come in there. Hopefully, there we go. It opens up so Luke can go in there. And it does have a little bit of weathering on there, which is just fantastic. I may go ahead and darken that up a little bit. But as I was saying, the customizing earlier, we're going to be go ahead and painting that blaster with the blue, and we're going to be doing this one on the bottom with the blue, because that's how Luke's X-wing is in real life. So let's go ahead and, well, in fantasy real life, we'll go ahead and say, we'll go ahead and look at Luke and R2 here, if we can get them out. They're very tiny, but that is just okay. So they look really good. A lot of these figures don't have a lot of detail on them. R2 is probably the most detailed little figure that has been in this line here, and the pilot, aka Luke Skywalker, looks just fine. Let's go ahead and get them in and see how they look. And they're in there very nicely. You have to tilt Luke Skywalker back just a little bit, but as you can see, the hands look like they're flying. The starfighter and R2 fits in there very nicely. He's also very easy to get out because there's a little button here that can kind of push him up like that, as you can see, and then push it down, and it just pushes down like so. So the S-foils do open up. Remember to lock S-foils in attack position when they're coming in to attack the Death Star like so. Just a great little starfighter. It does have landing gear. There are 3 landing gears right here, 2 underneath of the wing and 1 up underneath of the cockpit up there. They can be a little tricky to get out, but you get the idea. They have little clips on them like that, and you have the landing gear for Luke's X-wing. Now, let's go ahead and get into the customizing portion of this video. Should be fun. Okay, so now that we're all gloved up, and I went ahead and hit those poles with some alcohol just to get any residual fingerprints off, we're going to go ahead and be using this fine painter's pen blue, which I found just works fantastic on these action figures, starfighters, whatever you want to use. You have to make sure and seal it up afterwards, of course. I mean, on this kind of stuff, probably not sealing it is going to be fine, because you're not going to be touching it too much, but you want to shake that up pretty good. Make sure you have something on standby, like this little towel here, just to make sure that no drips or anything like that come off. So we have a picture here that's off camera that I have on my computer screen here. There we go. As you can see, the poles on the top and the bottom have that pinstripe on them. So that'd be the reference picture that I'm using there. So we're going to just go ahead and do those stripes just down the top and on that bottom side there. So I went ahead and did a little count. So there's 5 stripes that go down the bottom portion of these blaster poles here. So we're going to go ahead and try and mark those out pretty well. So I may not get exactly 5 on there where it's, small, but we're going to go ahead and see how it goes. So just putting a little line down there. So when we're finished with this, I'm going to obviously be going over and marking some of that out so it looks worn, and I'm going to be going ahead and putting a coat of black wash on it just so it matches the rest of the Starfighter and doesn't completely look out of place with that ridiculous glossy blue there. So as you can see, it turned out pretty good on the top there. Not too bad at all. We're going to go ahead and do that all the way down. Okay, so that's far from perfect, but I think that's pretty good for a starting coat. I'm definitely going to be black washing over most of it, so it's going to be hiding a lot of the imperfections, but that looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and be moving on to the bottom portion now. So the same idea as the top, we're just going to be making that little line around here. So this has been proven to actually be a lot harder than it looks. Making that line to go all the way around there and keeping it straight is definitely harder than it looks. So with a little patience, you can go ahead and get something like that. So that's pretty good, not too bad at all. So you're just going to go ahead and take the rest of those down. I was managed to get 5 on that top one, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can manage 5 on that bottom one also. Okay, so not too bad at all. It turned out pretty good. What you didn't see is me erasing that with alcohol at least 6 times to get that the way it is now. So this was quite a process, a lot harder than I thought it was, but in the end, it turned out pretty good. We're going to let this dry just a little bit, and then we're going to take a dry brush and kind of scratch it up a little bit so it looks like it's been worn for space battles and all sorts of things. Alright, definitely the top part is dry enough to hit it with a dry brush here. So what we're going to be doing is just knocking just a little bit of that paint off. As you can see there, it's not too much of it. So you're not completely taking the paint off. You're just kind of giving it that worn, stroked look. So what the dry brush does, it kind of moves that around, kind of smears it a little bit, gives it that brushed look, like it's been beat, like it's been hit with a laser, a blast, scuffed, all that kind of stuff. So once you go ahead and add the black wash will get down in those crevices there and just give it a beautiful, beautiful worn look. So I'm going to call that top one good. As you can see, I went ahead and scuffed up some parts more than others, so it's not uniform, because obviously weathering is never uniform. So you just want to go ahead and just scuff up each one of those. I left a little bit on there to, maybe hit that just a little bit more. But as you can see, I'm going to call that done. The bottom part should just be done drying up in just a few seconds to be able to go ahead and scuff that up as well. And I do believe it is time to give this a hit with the brush. So we're just doing the same thing, lightly hitting the paint. So it just kind of scuffs it up, not really removing too much of it. And the bottom part is scuffed up nicely. I went ahead and did that just a little bit heavier. It is on the bottom, so obviously the bottom may be hitting things a little bit more than the top. Went ahead and did the bottom part as well, so you're just doing little scuff marks as you go. And now on to one of my favorite parts, the washing phase. So the best part about the Micro Galaxy Squadron is they kind of give you a little tray to pour your wash in to be able to paint the vehicle that it comes with, or the wash, I should say. So I'm using this particular wash, Vallejo. Great wash. I've used it 100 times so far. The bottle is actually almost empty. So maybe I needed to order a little bit more wash coming up here. So we're going to be just using a little bit. You definitely don't want to use too much, because you will wind up throwing it away. It's impossible to get it back in that little bottle. This has been sitting for just a few minutes. It should be dry enough. You just always want to test it, make sure you can't move it off with your fingers, and that should be good to go, especially the top one there. So you're just dabbing that brush into that wash there, just ever so slightly, and then moving it off to the side to get any excess on there, and then hitting those poles with that black wash and just letting it sit on there, definitely going down on the edges there where I used some alcohol to clean fingerprints off. It probably took the black wash that they had off, so just go ahead and replace that as well. just putting it on there very lightly, very, very small taps. You don't want to be streaking the paint off, just getting in there, getting in those crevices, and getting it looking uniform with the rest of the fighter. So I'm going to just go ahead and use what little excess I have on my brush just to go ahead and give this X-Wing a little bit more black wash so it looks more used, looks more starfighter-ish, looks like it's been used in some space battles. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the excess on my brush just to do that. R2's in there, but I'm not going to be hitting him too much. So as you can see, what that does is it adds a lot of depth to all of the parts there, gives a lot more carbon scoring, and so on and so forth. All right, so there is a completely black washed X-Wing. So this is before the rubbing stage. So this is actually just as it's been finished, being completely black washed. As you can see, a lot of the detail has been bought out. The finer details, like the nose detail there, has completely come out and looks just fantastic. The light in there kind of makes it just a little bit black, but as you can see, it's not as black when you bring it down there. So as this dries, we're going to be taking a rag and just rubbing it very lightly, just to rub it into those grooves and move that black deep into those grooves to make that carbon scoring look absolutely phenomenal. I did the bottom side too. All parts of this X-Wing have been black washed except for obviously the windshield, and you obviously don't want to drop it like that, but we're going to go ahead and start rubbing it with the rag. Okay, so what you do for this part is you're going to just make sure and have a rag that does not leave any kind of fuzzies or any kind of residue behind. And you're just going to want to take it and just lightly rub every area that you applied the black wash to. So you're going to look for definitely pools that have pooled up, and you're going to want to rub them into the crevices. I went ahead and made sure that pools really wasn't a problem here at the end with my brush. Just go ahead and brushing that out hard. But in places like that, you're going to want to make sure that it doesn't. See, definitely a good example. See how it built up in there? You're going to want to take that rag and just rub that down so it just resembles carbon scoring and not a pool of black wash. It definitely does it on those pole ends there like that, but it didn't do it too bad everywhere else. So just a light rubbing is all you're going to want to be doing there, just to move that black wash deep into the crevices there and to make sure it doesn't look fake and all that kind of stuff. When you're rubbing the paint there, just be very careful that you're not rubbing the paint completely off, because we haven't added the final stage to it yet, even if I may not, because the rubbing may actually present a cool effect that makes it look even more realistic to pair with the red paint that we already have on this X-Wing here. So we're looking pretty good here at the end. We're going to go ahead and put those S foils down. She's going to be a little bit sticky in the opening minutes after you rub her down, but it's not going to be too bad after it dries up very well. And if it does, just go ahead and take that rag afterwards and just keep rubbing it down until the stickiness fades away, because it will, and trust me, it will. I've done this quite a few times now with action figures and so on and so forth. So that definitely looks a lot better than what we had out of the package. I really, really love how the barber poles turned out. They're definitely subtle, but you can definitely tell they're there, and you can definitely tell they've been carbon scored. So she definitely looks a lot better than out of the package. And there we have it, an unboxing and a customizing video of Luke Skywalker's 265B Red 5 X-Wing. So we went ahead and added the barber pole blue, and we went ahead and black washed the entire starfighter itself. So I think it turned out pretty well. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I really thank you for sticking around to the end. If you did, make sure and drop me a comment in the comments section. Always like and subscribe wherever you're watching this video. Check out comments of the links in the description for all of my social media accounts. And I really, really appreciate it. So does Luke Skywalker, and may the Force be with you.